Hello, welcome back to Doing Bart Things, and today what I thought I would do is make a video about a subject that, well, it's kind of my thing. I am all about the computer case. That's what your system goes into, and that's what everybody sees when they look at it, and for a long time, I've been sort of the connoisseur of computer cases, if you will. I currently have just bought a Fractal Design, not Define, I almost said Define, a Fractal Design North. Very cool case. And I thought about what are some of the cool cases that, if I was given the choice, might I be like, hey, why can't the manufacturer come back and make that again in an all new form? What would I like to see brought back? That was basically the idea behind this video, and it got me to thinking, and I actually made a list. So why not? Worst case scenario, maybe somebody sees this and goes, hey, yeah, that's a good idea, and maybe that gets something started. Or maybe they look at it and go, that's a horrible idea. Why would you ever want to do that? And yeah, so one of the two things could happen. So I said, what the heck? I don't really like my Fractal Design North, so no worries there. But like I said, it got me to thinking. Here's a list of the top 5 cases. If I had my choice, as far as what I would bring back, what I would tell these manufacturers, like, hey, maybe make an updated version of this. It might be a good idea. Here we go. So let's see. So number one, well, not number one. We'll go in order of from 5 to 1. Okay, so number 5 case that I'd be like, hey, we need to bring this guy back if we can. Would be let's see if I can put this window here. Would be the Corsair 350D. Why the 350D? Well, I kind of like the boxy look. It was very roomy for a micro ATX chassis, which, by the way, I want to see more cool micro ATX chassis. That's the thing that I really want to see. What I liked about it is it was small enough to be considered compact, but not so small that it couldn't fit whatever you wanted. That was kind of the allure. It was decently built. The quality of it was pretty good. The only, I would say, gotchas about this case were the so I know you can't see it here, but this front panel, you could take it off and there was a filter behind it, which is great. The problem was the filter was not reinforced at all, so it would actually, if you tried to pull the top to pull the filter out, sometimes you'd bend the whole frame and the filter would go into the fans. It was really weird that way. And the fans were not super high quality, so I actually knocked a blade off of a fan once by accident. Yeah, so of the one that I had, so that was not the best thing ever. But it was pretty roomy. I liked where the I/O is located, so I think that would be really cool if, say, they redid it, if they could do that again today. Now, I would like for them to revisit how these drive cages are. Obviously, you wouldn't need any you wouldn't need these optical bays, right? So that would be good. Get rid of the optical bays, give you a lot more room. Maybe put some drive caddies on the back of the motherboard tray and call it a day, and then have this whole front open. You could fit really big graphics cards in it. I would love for them to come with a tempered glass version. Just redo the whole thing, but they might even be able to keep this same frame almost, which would be crazy to think, like, this old frame they could reuse it, but it's possible that you could make that work. I think that you could maybe introduce a power supply shroud if you really want to. The other thing that was cool about this case is it was a 5-slot micro ATX tower, which today would be awesome because video cards are so big. So it kind of gives you the clearance. And the other thing, because there's no, I would like if they were to redo this, if they would stay away from the PSU shroud. And the reason is, with no PSU shroud, you can even put a bracket on there and then use a SFX power supply and get even more room in order to have that graphics card be able to breathe appropriately. You could maybe make it where you can mount a fan down here in the bottom, get rid of these optical drives. You could probably have a 360 mil radiator in the front. Like, you could do a lot of things with this size chassis, and it was not very big. So that's just a couple of good things about it. Like I said, there were some parts on it that were a little chintzy. That fan filter situation was kind of weird. These there's a reason why they've never redone these little drive holders here, is because they kind of were sucky. They're just plastic, whatever. They wouldn't need to redo it. They could just put some caddies on the back of the motherboard tray, in my opinion. There was plenty of room back there. I wonder if there's any more builds to look at real quick. Yeah, it was just a simple box, I mean, redo this with tempered glass, right? Get rid of all the stuff up in the front, out of the way. And, redo the front I/O. Bob's your uncle, kind of. Maybe, obviously, you'd want to probably have some sort of vented front panel. These are very reminiscent of the 4000D series today. You can make some sort of front panel like that, and that'd be awesome. The way I think about it is it'd almost be like a micro ATX version of the 4000D, really. Maybe a tad wider. I'm not exactly sure, but that's basically kind of what you'd be looking at there, and I think it would be great. That would be really cool. 4000D has been a good case for Corsair, and yeah, so I wouldn't see any issue with that at all. All right, so that's number 5. Number 4 on the list of cases that I wish they would come back and have another crack at and redo. I'm going to go with the Lian Li PC AO5. So this case is a is a definite and interesting design. It was very popular actually back in the day because it was just very simple, and it was a very good, it's a very cost-effective case. It was all aluminum. The only thing about it is aluminum wasn't very thick, but it was nice because of the aluminum. Like, the materials were nice. It was a decent built case. And the one that I liked, there was a version that had the motherboard upside down, but the one I liked was the one that had the motherboard right side up. Now, the power supply would mount down here in the bottom. Okay, the cable's facing this way. If they wanted to bring this case back, they would obviously have to make some changes. The good news is, of course, these days you can get rid of all these drive bays and these optical drive bays. So that gives you a lot more room. Not unlike a Johnsbow D41 is kind of like the way that this feels. But I think if it was Lian Li doing it, they could figure out a way to make this compact chassis even. They could take the same size box, basically, maybe make it a tad bit taller, and it would probably fit a 280 in the roof, no problem, if they just made it a bit taller. If memory serves, it could fit a 140 millimeter fan in the top already. So you get rid of the drive bays and you make it a little bit taller. I'm sure you could get two 140s up in there and to an 80 mil rad. Fit a full-size ATX motherboard, so that was cool. And I don't know, it was just like, I always liked how understated it was, but it felt high quality because of the aluminum. I think that there's another good shot of like where the power supply goes. It's way too air restrictive for modern day graphics cards, and as far as the size, so you would have to make some pretty big time interior changes in order for this to work. You'd have to vent out the front way better. But I think they could do that. You know, Lian Li's pretty, they're pretty good at innovating these days. So I'd love to see them make a new, I guess, what's the right word? A new mini ATX tower, not micro ATX, but an actual ATX motherboard inside of a smaller enclosure, but have very little in the way of compromises that you'd have to make in order to have it. And I think they could pull that off. And I think a good blueprint for that would be to start with your AO5. And then work from there. Like I said, you probably want to make it a little taller. It did have some room behind the motherboard tray. You could do the SFX power supply trick. SFX power supplies, I think, should become more normal. And Cooler Master just debuted one that had 1,300 watts, so I don't think power is going to be an issue. So maybe you could pull something with that, but you know, I don't know. Like, I think that might be something that'd be pretty cool if they were to put some thought behind it and try to figure out how to redo this in a way that would provide adequate cooling support, support for modern day GPUs, and be a similar size and form factor would be pretty awesome. Don't know if they could or would do that, but that would be the next step in line that I would say I think would be cool to see redone. And this is a very well-known case. Back in the day, many people used this case, so it's not a surprise this is on the list. But okay, next up, let's see. So that was 2. Yeah. Next one up that I think they should redo is, I can get this. Come on, pop over here. Woo. Well, let's give me a hard time. Hold on. There we go. The Fantex Evolve. So the Fantex Evolve is really a line of cases. So they had a mini ITX, they had a micro ATX, and then they had an ATX case. I would love for all of these to get redone to where they are brought up to spec for modern, really for modern hardware. You can still buy the micro ATX case. These things are built like trucks. They're amazing. The side panels are 3mm thick aluminum. If memory serves, is it 3mm thick? I think it's 3mm thick. I mean, they are just, there's no flex or anything. They're just built so well. I think they look really good. Their biggest downfalls were the just solid panels, obviously, really made cooling take a hit. If you look, you can see how the top is just barely vented. This caused problems with air recirculating. So you get hot air kind of recirculating because there's just not a lot of places for it to go. So you'd want to do something about that, obviously. You know, change up the I/O. But these are still relatively modern-ish cases. This is when obviously it got away from the optical drives. Robust. You know, you have tempered glass by now on these cases. Love the look. They just need to ventilate them and rearrange them a little bit, I think. And there needs to be a new version of the Evolve series, I think. They had a mini ITX case, which I love the style of this mini ITX case. One thing, though, that they need to do, if you're going to make a tower mini ITX case, get rid of the PSU shrouds. Get rid of them. I understand you want that compatibility with a full-size ATX power supply, but give people the option of putting a SFX PSU there and getting those extra couple of slots in depth, so that way you can use some of these new modern video cards. Like, I just think that would be much preferred. Now, you could water cool in these things. They had great water cooling support as far as, like, you know, the rails and stuff. Kind of like the other cases here I've showed. As a matter of fact, here's one done with the water cooling setup. Just to give an example, They had swing outdoors, and they were reasonably priced. Fantex really did a good job with the pricing on some of these. I mean, this looks like somebody added that window, but like, well, maybe it's tempered glass. No, this is a tempered glass one. Okay. This like had tempered glass on both sides. It had hinges. It was all aluminum. The whole thing is aluminum. Very high quality. And this case is, was reasonably priced, surprisingly. The micro ATX case was $129, which for as much aluminum that's in this thing, again, is pretty crazy. Great looking cases. The micro ITX case was steel and plastic, so that kind of sucked. But the two more expensive ones were all aluminum, so really good cases. Just they don't breathe enough, so I would love to see a revision where they open them up a bit, and kind of revised, where you could put fans and stuff a little bit. I think would be good. If they make a mini ITX version, they should, like the other two, they need to open them up, especially that front and top panel, or what needs to get like some venting, maybe some sort of mesh of some sort. And then, all aluminum would be awesome. And then on the mini ITX, go ahead and make that aluminum as well. You could keep kind of around the same size if you wanted. But again, you need to put the motherboard and space things to where that, and get rid of that power supply shroud out of there. So somebody could fit a SFX power supply and get some extra clearance for ginormous video cards. I think be the way to go. Great cases though. Would love to see a new revision of them. Okay, what next? Let's see. Number 2. The Silverstone TJ8E. Okay, so this case, all right, another case that had aluminum front that I loved, and this case featured a single 180 millimeter air penetrator fan. That fan was the bomb. That thing is crazy. It just, you don't want small children to walk too close in front of your case because they will get sucked up by it. Kind of strong. Really cool case. Now, I wasn't personally a fan of the inverted motherboard design of it. You can kind of see here, that's a better shot. It was an inverted motherboard design, but the video card kind of could rest on top of this PSU shroud. Could rest on this hard drive shroud, and that would keep any sort of sag or anything from happening. But also, you can mount hard drives in here, and then the fan would blow straight through the hard drive cages onto your CPU cooler, and just this little top bit here would get the video card, but that was like enough. I would love to see a completely revamped version of this where it was flipped the other way. You obviously get rid of these cages, right? Because ain't nobody got time for no spinny drives no more. You put some drive mounts on the back of the motherboard tray, in my opinion. Flip it upright. Get rid of the PSU shroud. You make it a little bit more of a box. You keep this air penetrator fan because that's kind of like the central element of this, and sort of redesign it. Get a modern take on it. Maybe call it the TJ09E or something. And I think that would be really cool. I love the idea of a small form factor case that has a gigantic fan in it for some reason. Makes me laugh. So I would very much like to see that. And by God, we need more better micro ATX cases. Micro ATX, actually here's a good picture of so here's what that setup looked like, right? Micro ATX cases, we need more micro ATX motherboards, and we need more micro ATX cases. Micro ATX, if we're not going to do SLI and that kind of thing anymore, you know, why not? Like, most people are going to run what's on their motherboard anyway. I mean, like I said, why not? But I thought that was a cool case. And if somehow we could get the same look and everything, but get a tempered glass window, because I just like tempered glass. Tempered glass is just way better than plastic. I would also like to have a solid panel option as well. And then flip it over. You know, you'd have to do a little bit to it, obviously, to kind of get where my vision might be going with this. But it would be a lot like the 350D in a way. You know, it'd be quite a bit like this, but it would look like that and have that amazing fan in the front. Is kind of where I'm going with it. Not like I have a specific taste or anything. Okay, now let's go to number one. In this case, if they did it right and Corsair came out with it, yes, it's a Corsair case, I would literally go buy one. I don't care what, I would just be like, nope, I'm getting it, because I just love this case so much. It is the Corsair C70 Vengeance. This case is so much fun. It basically, they designed it to look like an ammo crate. Okay, so it has the handles on top. It buckles to the top, so it was one of the first cases that I ever had that you didn't need a screw to get in it. You just unhinged the latches and pulled the panel off, and I was like, that is so much fun. It had the handles. It came in these colors. You know, the buttons were very thematic. Such a great case. It had, you know, the removable drive caddies. You can mount fans on the back of them. You can mount fans on the bottom. Everything was filtered. It was steel everywhere. Basically, there was metal everywhere that you could put it. It was just metal everywhere. And this made it feel robust. And it was just, oh gosh, it was so good. You had your power and reset button. They were like Kachuka. So I really loved this case. I loved the military green. Now, I don't think Corsair is ever going to come back out with it again, which makes me sad. I would love for them to do an entire range of these cases. I want to see this in a micro ATX. I want to see it in a mini ITX. You know, it's what makes the industrial look of it is what made the Asus GT502 Tough cool. But that case didn't have anything on this. Like, this actually had metal handles, and it was, to me, I'm like, this thing is so much fun. And imagine, you know, it's a pretty decent sized case. If they got rid of all these drive bays, you could easily see a big fans and radiators stuff up in the front. You could see that for the top possibly. They would have to do a little reorganization on the inside, but you can see air cooling was no problem. You know, they fit, and you could fit a giant power supply on the bottom. I think that would be amazing. I really do. I would run out and buy one. I mean, I think if you took out, I'd need to check on the size to confirm, but I think if you just look at this, like, I wonder if I can zoom in on this. Man, I don't know if we can. That's unfortunate, but that's so good. And people would put, like, you know, 1,000 cartridges, Cal 30 carbine, you know, like they would. People just love these cases. And I was one of them. I just thought it was really cool. It wasn't overly large, but I bet you could almost fit 3 140s, I bet, in the front of this, and this is back in the day. The whole thing is you'd get rid of this optical bay, right? And then you'd obviously just have mesh in the front, except for this very top piece right here. And then, you know, you could have, I advise for a tempered glass version and then a solid panel version, right? Maybe you'd make the whole case a little bit wider. It was pretty narrow, as I seem to recall. But you could fit big heat sinks in it. It had like this boat outside. I wonder if I could maybe demonstrate that. Yeah. I don't know if you can see, but like the sides bulged out away from the chassis a little bit. And so you'd want it to be straight. So you'd probably make the whole enclosure a little bit wider. I mean, honestly, if they just took a chassis they already have, like say a 5000D, you know, take your 5000D internals and wrap it in this, I mean, it would be awesome, you know, especially if you're able to pull off the hinged latches for the handles and get the I/O situated in such a way that, you know, it kind of was reminiscent of this, and call it the C70 Vengeance or something. Such a great case. Really cool idea. It brought the military industrial look a long time ago. Yeah, you can see one there kind of decked out. But anyway, so yeah, if I had, you know, my say, then I would try to figure out a way to bring this back and make it modern. And I would probably make a line of them. I'd probably make a ATX and a micro ATX. You know, I would mess with the dimensions. Like I said, I'd probably use the 4000 or 5000D internal chassis if I was Corsair doing it, and make that to where, you know, it was modern. But I would try to bring back all the cues from this. They're fun. Like I said, the latches, and the green, all that stuff. So anyway, so there it is. If I had 5 cases I could bring back from the dead, these would be the 5 that I would do. Probably. There's other cases out there, but especially the C70 though, like this is the one that I'd be like, man, that would be so awesome to have it. You know, it's got the handles and the latches. If I could have that, but it would be modern and, you know, be right. Like the whole front would have to be mesh, except for the very top where your I/O was, a little bit wider as a case to accommodate probably 3 140mm fans up the front from the size of it, if I recall. It should have been able to fit that. And then tempered glass side panel or solid side panel, along with all of the modern, you know, features that you recognize. It totally fit giant GPUs without those drive bays. So you put those in the back of the motherboard tray. I mean, and Bob's your uncle. You know, yeah. You or you know, you take one of your modern cases, like I was saying earlier, and you just put the outside of this on there, kind of. Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. Anyway, guys, that's it. Hope you've enjoyed this little stroll down memory lane with me. If you wanted to, you could like and subscribe. I've gone nearly 30 minutes rambling about old computer cases. I apologize in advance. But again, this is a low-rent production. My dirty room, like I've got to go and clean it up and get things sorted. We're just now to the point where I think I can start doing that. So hopefully little bits and pieces as time goes on, you'll be like, oh, that looks a little straighter, it looks a little better, you know, as I work through it. But anyway, hope everybody has a great week, rest of their week, and we will talk to you soon.